Hey guys, it's Ashley, and today we're going to be talking about Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. I know that I've been putting up a lot of Sarah J. Maas book talks lately, and for those of you who like her work, this is good for you. For those of you who don't like her work, you're probably not even clicking on this video to hear my explanation, so I'm not even gonna give it. I've just been really obsessed with her writing lately, and ever since I read Airfire, I just want to keep reading more and more and more and more and more, and I never want to stop, but I'm gonna have to stop eventually because I'm gonna be caught up once I read Empire of Storms, and then I'm gonna be really sad. But anyways, Queen of Shadows. This book was so good. And it tore me in two at points, and it made me cry at points, and it made me laugh at points, and I still have this sinking feeling that Adian is gonna die, but I'm not gonna dwell too much on that because, you know, I'm just not. And I'm not actually going to have much of a spoiler-free section because it's the fourth book in the series, and if you guys haven't, you know, gotten to this point yet, then why are you watching this video? So if you haven't read this book by now, and you're clicking on this video just to say hi, but don't watch after this point because I'm gonna start getting into some spoilery parts, and I don't want you guys to be spoiled. Unless you're good with that, then by all means, go right ahead. But for now, bye non-spoilery people. So if you've watched my Airfire book talk, you know how I felt about Dorian at the end. And you'll know that the first chapter of this book tore me apart. We start with Dorian, and he's inside his body, but he's not in control of his like body. And he doesn't know his name, and he doesn't know the name of his friends, and he doesn't know the name of Sorsha, and he's like I started crying right then and there. But then we jump into Aelin, and oh my god, okay, she's going by Aelin, and my heart just like swelled because I think that now that she's accepted who she is and she's going by her real name, that we are really going to get into the core of the story. It's not going to be focused so much on Selena finding herself as it is, you know, the plot and what is going to happen. Also, my notes are very scattered, so this book talk is going to be like here, over here, over here, over here, over here. So just bear with me. So you guys also know that the one thing that I was looking forward to in this book was Aelin meeting Adian again. I love Adian so much, and I can't tell you why or how or what it is about him that I love, but I just love him. And so, you know, if he never got to see Aelin before he was executed, I wouldn't be reading the next book. I could tell you that right now. So we open and Aelin has this meeting with Arobynn, and she's meeting him, and he is just as fucked up as I remember. He is messed up. He's, you know, still basically in love with her, which I thought was creepy in the beginning when we found that out, but now it's just even creepier. Then he tells her that Adian has been captured and that he's been imprisoned and is being scheduled to be executed in 3 days on Dorian's birthday, and Aelin is like, the world stopped and then started again because she didn't even know he was alive. And now that she knows that he's alive, and Arobynn was the one who told her, she's like, the world doesn't make any sense right now, but you know, it will soon, we hope. So Aelin makes a deal with Arobynn then that she will get him a Vogue prince in exchange for his help getting Adian out of the castle. And meanwhile, Adian over here has an infection and is not gonna tell anybody about it. He's gonna die before Selena can even go and try to save him. You take your medicine and you get better. Because if Aelin rescues you, and you die as soon as she rescues you, and this is all for nothing, I am gonna have a word with you. So while Aelin is meeting with Arobynn, she sees that Chaol was meeting with him, and so she goes and finds Chaol, and he's mad at her. And it makes me so angry, because yes, you know, you have every right to be mad because all this shit happened, but none of it was Aelin's fault. None of it was Selena's fault. Like, Selena cannot control what the king does, okay? Selena did not know that the king was gonna put the stupid collar on Dorian. Like, don't get mad at her. He was like thinking that she was gonna bring an army and that she had a plan, and she's like, I'm gonna bring magic back, and he's like, no, you're not. I know that I loved Chaol from the beginning, and I preferred Chaol so much more over Dorian, but at this point, the tables have turned, my friends. And meanwhile, Manon, who I just realized Sarah J. Maas pronounces as Manon, but will never in a million years ever pronounce it like that, so she will always be known as Manon to me, is stationed with Duke Parrington, who we haven't seen since like book 1, and Kaltain, who we also haven't seen since Crown of Midnight, and meanwhile she's being stepped all over, and I'm like, Manon, no, you're a badass, you better step up, and you better fight against them for what's right, because she knows that none of what's going on is right in like the least sense whatsoever. Lysandra. Oh my god. I love Lysandra so freaking much. Apparently, she had a thing with Wesley, who was the guard who tried to stop Aelin from going after the guy who saved Sam because he knew it was going to be a trap that Arobynn set, so he was trying to stop her, and then Arobynn killed him for trying to stop her, and Lysandra was in love with him, and when Arobynn killed him, it broke her heart, and meanwhile turned her against Arobynn, and it was like this big, giant circle of things that I barely remembered from the Assassin's Blade, but I kind of pieced together as we went. It was a mess. But long story short, I love Lysandra. And when she confides in Aelin that she bought Evangeline out of her contract, you know, by like scarring her face, I have so much love for Lysandra, you guys have no idea. Because Chaol is still really bothering me, we're gonna go back to Chaol for a minute. He is not able to wrap his head around the fact that Aelin only wants the king dead. That's it. Like, she wants to release the magic so that she can use her magic and kill the king. She doesn't want to hurt anybody in Rifthold, she doesn't want to hurt anybody in Darlin but the king and the Vogue princes so that she can go back to Terrasen, reclaim her throne, and help her people. That's it. That's all she wants. And Chaol seems to think that she wants to kill everybody in Rifthold, and by unleashing magic she's gonna just like murder everyone? What? Then the part where Manon is told that she has to pick a witch coven to be impregnated by the Vogue. Oh my god. And you know that Manon is completely against it. But she does it anyways because her grandmother is for it, other people are for it, and people are like lining up to be impregnated by this demon thing. And meanwhile, Asterin is so completely against it. Oh my god, Asterin's backstory like really killed me. She fell in love with this human and was, you know, pregnant with him, and they treated her like royalty because, you know, they treat all of their witchlings like, you know, really well. And when she had her baby and it was born a stillborn, Manon's grandmother went absolutely batshit crazy and branded her, and nobody knew about it. Nobody. And that's why Asterin is going so crazy over, you know, having these witchlings turn into these creepy demon Vogue things. You don't find that out until the end, and I have so much more respect for her, and I love her so much more as a character now. And I think that she and Manon really complement each other really well. So then we get to the breakout scene, and the fact that Arobynn was the one who orchestrated all of this makes me really pissed because it was really brilliant. So Aelin goes in with like the dance troupe. She gets away and changes her clothes really fast, and Adian is, you know, sitting on a chair on the stage ready to be executed, and as the dancers are performing, their roses blow up. And Selena has the distraction she needs to get to Adian and kill the guards and get away. And then she runs into Dorian, and she is 100% ready to kill him right then and there because she knows that there's no way to get out of this Vogue collar other than, you know, killing the person. So she's ready to kill him, and then Nesrin shoots an arrow at her and is like, no, Chaol told you no. You said you wouldn't. What are you doing? And Selena's like, we have to. He's never gonna get better. And she's like, no. And then Dorian's like, I'll kill you all. And then everybody just runs in their separate directions. And then the moments afterward, oh my gosh, when Aelin and Adian like start talking in the bed together, and Aelin asks, do you hate me? And he goes, never. Just the tears. When Alide was mentioned first in the book, at first I was like, wow, why does this name sound so familiar? And then I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, oh my god, Lady Marion's daughter. How did she end up in Morath? She's in Morath with Manon and with her uncle, who's apparently like this asshole, and he killed the father so that he could get the throne, and took Alide and brought her to Morath, and he's working with Duke Parrington. Then we find out that she has like witch blood, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around because I thought that she was fae. They're trying to get at that Marion had some kind of like witch on her side of the family, but like, what was her dad fae? Like, I swore that people in Terrasen were fae, so I don't know where this witch part is coming from. But if she does not play a role or a big role in the next book, I don't know what her purpose is. She better play a big role, and I'm really looking forward to it if she does. When Aelin doesn't tell Adian that Rowan swore the blood oath to her, because apparently in Terrasen, one person swears a blood oath to you and they're like your all-time protector for like eternity, and it's really only one person, and that's the tradition, and Rowan's already done it and she doesn't tell him, and I know that he's gonna flip shit when he hears about it. And especially the moment when Rowan makes his reappearance. That was the moment where I was like, wow, Now it's only a matter of time before he finds out. And you know, when he does end up finding out, I really have that appreciation for Aelin when she's like, you know what? We're starting a new nation. We're starting a new country. We can make our own rules. You can still swear the blood oath to me. Ren can swear the blood oath to me. Anybody can swear the blood oath to me. If you really want to protect me that much, you go for it. And like I mentioned, Rowan comes back, and I know that I said that I absolutely would not ever 100% accept a relationship between he and Aelin, but I feel like I'm slowly turning around to that. Like, I'm not 100% ready for them to be together yet. Even after the end of Queen of Shadows, I'm just not ready for that, and I don't want that to happen. But I feel like if I read more about it and they have more really cute romantic moments and they really feel something for one another, I feel like my feelings could potentially change. The only reason that I was against them in the first book was because I just thought that they would be better as friends, you know? Rowan already had his mate, lost his unborn child, he's gone through enough in this world. Of course he's able to have a relationship with Aelin if he really wants to, and if they both agree to it and they both want to, but you know, I'm still not 100% there. So the reason that Rowan came back was because Lorcan came on his own to find the weird keys to destroy them, because if Maeve gets a hold of them, she's gonna become like unstoppably evil, and he's like looking out for her by doing that, and that's why he was able to disobey the blood oath and come. And it's really confusing, and I still don't fully understand why Lorcan is here. Oh my god, when Rowan sees Aedion and meets him for the first time, and he realizes that he's Gabriel's son. Okay, by the time I'm recording this, I've already read A Court of Wings and Ruin, and this is just like something that happens in that book. I'm gonna say that right now. This is so weird. Like, how? Oh my god, okay, so back to Manon and Alide. So Manon uses Alide as a spy. Alide has that witch blood, and Manon's like, we have to watch out for our own, so, you know, we're gonna use her to our advantage, but we're also gonna take care of her. And, you know, Abraxos ends up falling in love with Alide, and he like treats her like he treats Manon, and it's so freaking adorable, and I love it so much. Oh, and then that moment where Roland, who we haven't seen since Crown of Midnight, who had that very vague appearance, comes back in the story. Like, man, you played no part in this whole book, and you just died. Lysandra is a shapeshifter. What? It turns out she was a shapeshifter, and like when her mom found out, she threw her out on the street, so Lysandra realized that shifting into these beautiful women was able to get her more money while she was, you know, begging on the streets. And then the one day when magic vanished, she was stuck in the body that she ended up in. The person that Lysandra is at that moment isn't even who she really is, and that just like really like blew my mind. Like, the only reason that she'd ever been in this bidding with Clarice was because she's beautiful, but it's not even her. The absolute best part of this book, in front of the king dying, even in front of Dorian coming back, even in front of magic being released, the best part was when Erebin Hamel dies. I was so happy. I hated him so much in The Assassin's Blade. I hate him even more in Queen of Shadows. Let me just go into some of the reasons why I hate Erebin Hamel. Not only is he a despicable and evil human being, also that scene where he puts that ring on Aelin's finger, even though it's not the real ring, so she's not really being controlled, but the fact that he put it on her anyways, and she has to act like she's being controlled by him. My blood was boiling, you guys. And then the fact that Lysandra was the one who killed him, and with her shoe, right? It was with her like stiletto heel, I think, and she like sliced his throat, and A+++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++ Kaltain and Shadowfire. What is this? I'm so confused. Was this something that Kaltain had like a power for before she had like the weird collar put on her and when magic was, you know, like still in the kingdom? And then when she got the Vogue Prince put in her, like then it became Shadowfire rather than just like regular fire? Like, I'm still not 100% sure what it is. They were going to use the Shadowfire and like bounce it off the mirrors and kill everybody basically, I think. Now that Kaltain's dead, all they have are the Vogue Princes and the creepy Vogue creatures that have been bred with the Yellowlegs coven, so I'm not really sure how it's gonna keep going when they lost their like #1 weapon. Now this Chaol-Nezran relationship I actually kind of like. I don't know why. I feel like that they're just really similar human beings and that they are really good for each other. It just really still aggravated me that Chaol was so adamantly against magic all the way up until the moment that they figured out that the Volg King Erewhon was gonna be brought back, and then he was like, you know what, you know, maybe I'll work with them, maybe I'll help bring magic back. You're still annoying, but at least you're sane. Something that I kept wondering was when Manon and Aylin's storylines were going to kind of like come together, because Aylin is the leader of Terrasen and Manon is the wing leader of, you know, the 13 and the Blackbeak Coven and things like that, and they're both leaders and they need to eventually meet each other. And so that one scene where the Witch Coven and the King and Dorian were all gonna meet, you know, Chaol ends up running toward Dorian, Chaol gets captured by Manon, and then Manon and Aylin finally meet and they end up fighting. And that scene was so good. So then Aylin pulls Manon out of the rubble. And I was hoping that that was gonna happen, and I really liked it. And the fact that, you know, she did that for Manon, now Manon feels like she needs to repay the debt and do something for Aylin. So Manon is the one who tells her that Dorian is still inside his body. Oh yes! My baby Dorian is gonna be saved at last. So then they come up with this plan that Rowan and Adian are gonna go through the tunnels and blow up the clock tower so that magic can be released, and that Aylin and Chaol are going to go straight into the castle and distract the king while that's happening. But of course, you can't just distract the king from something this big from happening. Like, he's gonna know. They walk in and immediately he's like, when are you gonna tell me what your real name is, Aylin? And then the weird hounds that Lorcan was supposed to have killed come after Rowan and Adian. If I had not known that the 6th book in the series was going to be a Chaol book, like, I really would have thought that Chaol was going to die in that moment, because how can he face off with the king who has all this power and magic and still live? So right before Dorian can kill Aylin, she slips the golden immunity ring that she got from Maeve on his finger. And then meanwhile, Rowan and Adian are being attacked by the Weird Hounds and Lorcan shows up and tries to help them. So they light the hellfire and they get the hell out of there. But they're stuck with all, you know, like the Volg, and they're fighting their way out. And then it explodes and magic is released. Aylin is able to fight off Dorian and fight off, you know, the Volg prince that's in him. Dorian rips off the collar. Dorian comes back and his dad comes out and the king starts spinning this whole story. Like, I feel like I shouldn't believe him, but at the same time, I don't see how we wouldn't believe him, because it makes sense, and it makes sense for what's gonna happen in the next book. So apparently, a long time ago, he found one of the weird keys and brought it to Parrington and was like, hey, look at this, and then Parrington's like, oh my god, we should try putting it in this door, and so they put it in the door, and the Volg princes and the Volg king were released. So Erewhon is already out, and he's apparently in Parrington's body, and a prince took hold of the king of Adarlan, or right after Dorian was born. He saw how much power Dorian was going to have, and so he constructed the towers to block all the magic so that the princes wouldn't find out that Dorian had the magic. I guess because he used his own blood in the spell, that was why Dorian's magic wasn't blocked by the towers. It makes sense, but I still don't know whether to believe him. So conflicted. But then Dorian ends up killing him. Even though it may not have been his dad's fault, I think that he deserved to be the one to kill him. You know, his dad, despite the fact that he had a prince inside of him and the prince was controlling him, he killed the love of his life. You know, he did all this horrible stuff to him, and so I'm really glad that Dorian was the one to kill him. Oh, and then apparently the Eye of Elena this entire time has been the key to closing the door. So we've had the key to stopping all of this since book 1, and we didn't even know it. So like I said, Dorian kills his dad, blows up the castle, Lysandra pounces in like a ghost leopard, and she's amazing, and then Chaol wakes up and he ends up being paralyzed from the waist down, and he and Nezran are going to travel to the southern continent, which I think book 6 is going to be about. They're traveling to the southern continent so that they can find the healers and maybe get the use of his legs back. Aylin, Rowan, Adian, and Lysandra are all going to Terrasen, and they're gonna take back Terrasen. The part where Aylin was like taking in everything, and she was like, it's the smell of pine and snow, and she wondered why it had been so familiar, and she realized that it was the way that Rowan smelled to her, and that Rowan was like, I feel like I've been searching for this place my whole life. Those little snippets and those moments make me really want them together, so I need more of that to be convinced. So Manon tells Elide that Aylin is alive, and so Elide, with orders from Kaltain to take the weird key to a girl named Selena Sardathian, she goes off to Terrasen to try to find Aylin. And when she gets there, and she's gonna be like, so do you know this name of this girl named Selena Sardathian? And Aylin's gonna be like, that's me. So I'm really really excited to see what's gonna happen in the next book, and I also still have a sinking feeling that Adian is going to die, because I have never seen ever any Adian fan art ever, so I'm really scared. I guess nobody else likes him as much as I do. I don't know why, because he's awesome. And that is the end of my Queen of Shadows book talk. This is going to be pretty much just as long as my Heir of Fire book talk, but I have no shame. So please let me know your thoughts on this book and what I should be looking forward to in the next book. Don't spoil it for me, but I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye!